Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're really getting into something special, an ancient story from Buddhist wisdom. It's got everything: high spiritual achievement, a dramatic fall, crime, near death, and then, well, something truly amazing happens: liberation, right at the edge.
Exactly. And this story we're diving into, it comes from the Dhammapada commentary, a really rich source. It's called Vibbhantakavatthu, the story of the bewildered monk. And it gives us this unique look at how we struggle with attachment and, the pretty surprising ways freedom can show up.
Okay, let's get into it. So the main character, he's a monk, a student of the great elder Mahakassapa. And right off the bat, he's achieved something incredible, all four jhanas. I mean, let's just pause there. Imagine reaching that kind of spiritual mastery. That's huge.
It really is. The jhanas are these profound states of meditative absorption. It shows a very advanced level of mental discipline and purity. But even with that, things went wrong. The story says while visiting his uncle, a goldsmith, he saw what the text calls unsuitable forms, visabogurupuramana, sights that basically stirred up desire. His mind got hooked, deeply attached, and this led him to become, well, bewildered, as the title suggests. He actually left monkhood because of it. He disrobed.
And here's where it gets really interesting, like you said. From those spiritual heights, he ends up getting kicked out of his uncle's house. Why? Because he was lazy, didn't want to work. And from there, it's just downhill. He falls in with bad company, starts living as a robber. I mean, I'm talking a complete reversal. It's just, wow. So this life of crime catches up with him. He gets caught. They tie him up, arms behind his back, and the description is vivid. He's flogged with whips at every crossroads. Imagine that walk, being led to the execution ground, just a desperate final journey.
A really grim picture. But then there's this moment of grace, you could say. Just as they're leading him out the southern gate, who should see him but his old teacher, Elder Mahakassapa. And Mahakassapa, with real compassion, manages to get his bonds loosened a bit. Then he gives him just one simple instruction. Recall the meditation subject you cultivated before. Remember your practice.
Simple, but wow, at that moment.
Exactly. Pubitaya parisita kamatana vuna bhajahiti. Recall what you practiced, and the impact was immediate.
So what happens? Right there, facing death.
He gains mindfulness satupade, and incredibly, he reattains the fourth jhana, that deep state of peace.
That's just mind-blowing to find that clarity, that concentration in those circumstances.
It is. And then they get him to the execution stake. People are raising weapons, ready to impale him, and he shows zero fear. No trembling, nothing. Just complete composure.
Imagine the crowd's reaction. They must have been stunned.
Utterly. People all around, armed with swords, spears, you name it. They were just astonished. They started shouting about it, saying how amazing this was. And the news reached the king.
So the king steps in.
He does. Seeing this extraordinary fearlessness, the king orders the execution stopped. He wants to understand. So he has the man released and goes straight to the Buddha to report what he saw, what happened.
Okay, so the king tells the Buddha the whole story. What does the Buddha say?
The Buddha, radiating light, addresses the man directly with this profound verse, this gatha. He says, Yo nibanaito vanadimuto, vanamuto vaneva davatiti. Topugalameva passata, muto bantanameva davatiti.
Okay, let's break that down. It sounds complex.
Yeah.
Paradoxical, maybe?
It really is. Let's unpack it. Vana means forest. Here, it's an analogy for attachment, for the tangle of the householder's life, or craving. Nibanai ho means forestless. Someone who has left that forest, like a monk, freed from those worldly attachments. Vanamuto also means freed from that forest of craving.
Okay, so freed from the forest.
Right. But then the paradox, Vanameva Davati, he runs back to that very forest.
And the final line nails it. Ta pugalameva pasatha, muto banhanameva davatiti. Look, that person, freed. It runs back to bondage itself.
Freed, but runs back to bondage. Wow, so the Buddha's pointing out how someone can seem free, maybe even be free in one sense.
Exactly, but still get pulled back by those old habits, those underlying attachments. It raises this really important question, doesn't it, about what true freedom is. Is it just changing your situation, or is it something deeper? That pull of the old forest, the old bondage, it's subtle but powerful.
That makes so much sense. It's not just about leaving the physical forest, but the mental one too.
Precisely. Even after reaching high states, those latent tendencies, the subconscious pull towards old patterns, can still be there. The craving needs to be uprooted completely, not just suppressed or avoided by changing scenery. Otherwise, like that bird returning to the open cage, the mind defaults back.
So back to the man at the execution stake. He hears this verse from the Buddha. What happens next? This is the climax, right?
Absolutely. And it's astonishing. Sitting right there, on the stake, surrounded by officials, he hears the Buddha's words. And he doesn't just hear them, he deeply contemplates. He starts meditating on udayabaya, the rising and falling of all phenomena. And he applies the talakan, the three characteristics of existence, impermanence, suffering, and non-self, to everything he's experiencing, to all formations, all sankharas.
So intense insight meditation right there.
Extremely intense. He's looking directly at the nature of reality in that very moment. And through that deep contemplation, right there on the stake, he attains the fruit of stream entry, sotapadithala. This means he's irreversibly entered the path to full enlightenment. No turning back now.
Just incredible. But it doesn't end there, does it?
No. The text says he then miraculously levitates through the air right to where the Buddha is. The Buddha reordains him as a monk on the spot, and then right there, in front of the king and the whole assembly, he attains arahantship. Full liberation. Done.
Wow. What a deep dive that was. From the heights of jhana to the depths of crime to the very brink of death, and then, spurred by his teacher's reminder and the Buddha's wisdom, finding complete freedom at the execution stake itself. It's just such a powerful story about, well, resilience, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the impact a teacher can have. And of course, the Buddha's profound insight.
It truly is. And that central paradox the Buddha highlighted, being freed yet running back to bondage, that really sticks with you. It really prompts you to look at your own life, doesn't it? Your own attachments, things you think you've left behind. Because real freedom, as the story shows, often takes more than just deciding to leave the forest. It requires that deep internal shift, a real change of mind.
So maybe something for you, the listener, to consider. What forests, what attachments in your life have you tried to walk away from, only to find yourself, maybe subtly, maybe not so subtly, drawn back in? What old bonds might still be influencing you, even if you feel free on the surface?
And perhaps, thinking about this man's journey, what kind of meditation, what inner clarity or practice could you recall or cultivate? What could help you truly break free from those patterns that keep pulling you back into that forest?